From buying popular games only to kill them with greedy monetization, to promoting gambling to kids. These are just some of the many tactics DoBig Studios has used, and today we're revealing how this evil company changed Roblox forever. It all started in 2020 when a developer named DoBig created DoBig Studios. From the very beginning, he had a vision to simply buy successful games rather than create them from scratch. So he would begin by purchasing games that were trending, such as Squid Game during its viral peak. These early purchases gave them the momentum to eventually buy some of the most beloved games on the entire platform. By 2023, DoBig Studios would set their sights on their most ambitious purchase yet, Blade Ball. At the time, Blade Ball was one of the fastest growing games on the platform. It was everything players wanted, a simple skill-based game that rewarded timing and reflexes, without drawing you in with pay-to-win mechanics. But once DoBig Studios got control, everything started to change. What was once the balanced experience was destroyed within days, as DoBig added battle passes, pay-to-win abilities, overpriced cosmetics, and even gambling systems targeted at kids. These updates rewired the game entirely, turning Blade Ball into what many now call corporate slop. Within days, Blade Ball's peak of 418,000 concurrent plays collapsed, leaving the game with around 15,000 players on average. But to make matters worse, Roblox itself let this happen. As long as the money keeps coming, they're more than happy to watch these companies slowly take over the very games that players used to enjoy. However, DoBig Studios wasn't slowing down. If anything, things were about to get much worse, because in 2024, DoBig Studio would purchase A Dusty Trip, another rising game that was previously owned by Jandal. Remember this name, as we'll be talking about him once again. At first, A Dusty Trip felt like a fresh and innovative concept that was inspired by the popular game The Long Drive. Players loved it for its unique road trip survival concept, and for a while, it stood out as one of the most popular games on Roblox. But what no one saw coming was that things were about to come crashing down. But before DoBig got their hands on the game, Jandal himself had already begun loading the game with aggressive pay-to-win mechanics, sparking severe backlash from the community. However, when ownership was finally handed over to DoBig, its downfall was set in stone. A Dusty Trip was once a top-tier game, but under DoBig, it transformed into nothing more than a money-printing machine. Its player count plummeted to barely averaging 10 to 15,000 players. And when players realized that the game had been abandoned for corporate greed, they quickly flocked to Dead Rails, another game that offered a similar experience without aggressive monetization. But the chaos was about to reach a whole new level, as DoBig had bought one of the most relaxing and original games Roblox had to offer. And that game is Fisch. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say that it would really mean a lot if you could subscribe. When Fisch first released, the game felt like a breath of fresh air, made almost entirely by a solo developer named Woozy Nate. It was simple, peaceful, and fun. You could spend hours fishing and progressing at your own pace without ever feeling pressure to open your wallet, and it was a perfect break from all the competitive games on the platform. But in late 2024, DoBig Studios stepped in and bought the game. Woozy Nate's life changed overnight, and so did Fisch, but not the way players hoped. DoBig began tearing apart everything that made it special. The deal was so big that shortly after, Woozy Nate revealed he had bought a McLaren at just 18 years old. For the community, it was a shocking moment. The game that was once a passion project had now turned into a multi-million-dollar transaction, and the game quickly turned into a carnival of microtransactions, with overpriced rods, flashy cosmetics, and bundles that cost thousands of Robux. Suddenly, progressing wasn't about patience and grinding anymore. It was about how much you were willing to spend. Players noticed a shift immediately. The community that once praised the game's originality now accused DoBig of destroying it for profit. As one player commented, Fisch was such a good game at first, but now it's completely ruined. The amount of microtransactions is insane. They took what could have been a global hit and turned it into a dead, pointless cash grab. And the player count tells the story the best. At its peak, Fisch was pulling in over 470,000 plays at once. Today, it barely scrapes by with around 10,000, which is one of the steepest declines for any front-page game. But while Fisch went from one of Roblox's most beloved games to becoming yet another victim of DoBig's monetization machine, little did anyone know that DoBig had set its sights on the biggest game in the world, and that game was none other than Grow a Garden. Grow a Garden is a multiplayer farming simulator that shattered records, and at its peak it achieved the highest number of concurrent plays in gaming history, reaching over 22 million active players. On the surface, Grow a Garden feels like a wholesome farming simulator where you plant seeds and harvest them, which you can sell for the in-game currency. For many players, it became one of the most addictive games Roblox had ever seen. But behind the scenes lay something much darker, because DoBig Studios quietly bought up a small stake in the game. It wasn't full ownership, but it was more than enough to secure millions in profits and still have influence over how the game develops. And even with just a small share of the game, DoBig has shown how fast it can change the direction of the game. But while Grow a Garden is still considered free-to-play friendly for now, players have already noticed shady sales tactics already creeping in, with rare pets that can either take hours of grinding or skipped entirely by spending Robux, and limited items that create the fear of missing out, pushing players to spend before it's gone. But to make matters worse, pay-to-win players can also steal plants from free-to-play players, which takes weeks to grow and mutate. This was all part of DoBig's strategy. As one player perfectly put it, "Not gonna lie, DoBig Studios is basically the EA of Roblox, because they just buy up the games and ruin them with overpriced game passes." Many players trust the lead developer Jandal for his creativity, but with DoBig now in the picture, the direction of the game feels noticeably different. At the moment, players still love Grow a Garden, the community is thriving, and the game hasn't collapsed under corporate greed. But the pattern is impossible to ignore. Every DoBig-owned game gets destroyed by short-term profit until players walk away. And if the same thing happens here, it won't just be another Roblox game ruined. It'll be the fall of the biggest game the platform has ever seen. Even Creekcraft has spoken about this, warning players about the growing influence of DoBig Studio.
Here's another tweet that kind of enforces this point, right? So here's another picture here, DoBig Studios, right? They buy Dusty Trip, it kind of gets pay to win, they add in a bunch of microtransaction, game dies, right? Blade Ball, same thing. Oh my god, the amount of microtransaction and pay to win features in Blade Ball, boom, look at that, game dead. Fisch, guess what Fisch started doing? They added in a bunch of microtransactions, and now, well, let's actually take a look and see how Fisch is doing. So here's the page for Fisch. Let's scroll on down here. Let's go to the player charts. Let's go by daily players, concurrent players, and as you can see, it is going down, 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 down. But hold on a minute. What about Blade Ball, right? What about Blade Ball, right? Blade Ball is one of the biggest games on Roblox. How is it doing here? Well, let's take a look. Daily players, all players, and down, 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 down. What about a Dusty Trip? Let's check out a Dusty Trip here. Let's look at its player counts. Same thing, daily players, all time, and down, 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 down. Now, is that same thing going to happen to Grow a Garden? Probably. Honestly, probably at some point.
Some even argue that calling DoBig a studio doesn't even make sense. Traditional studios create and innovate, while DoBig's entire approach is the complete opposite, reinforcing the idea that DoBig operates more like a corporation than a studio, treating games as investments to be scaled, monetized, and eventually abandoned when the next big hit comes along. Even on their website, they've proudly showcased every game they've bought, with the most recent addition to that list being the popular game Build a Plane, a title that has only just risen to popularity. The game peaked at 180,000 players, but not long after DoBig acquired it, the game's momentum slipped, with it now averaging 10,000 active. And if that wasn't enough, even viral hits like Steal a Brain Rot, which recently peaked at 21 million players, is under DoBig's control. One by one, DoBig is buying up the very games that define Roblox, and with every new purchase, DoBig takes another piece of Roblox away from the community and turns it into another cash grab. As one player stated, "Back in the day, developers made games for fun. Now you've got studios like DoBig buying up every hit and draining all the fun out of them. Roblox doesn't feel like Roblox anymore." However, DoBig's destruction goes far deeper than just destroying individual games, because at this point, they're slowly taking over Roblox itself. The front page no longer promotes creativity, it promotes revenue. So when DoBig floods their games with pay-to-win mechanics and gambling systems, Roblox gives them the spotlight. A cycle doesn't just ruin the games, it darkens the future of Roblox. And if history tells us anything, it's only a matter of time before Roblox itself loses everything that made it special. That leaves us with the biggest question of all. Which Roblox game will be the next victim of DoBig Studios? To really understand what's at risk, click this video on screen to see the difference between Roblox's most creative games and the laziest cash grabs the platform has ever seen.